Life as We Know It with Tom Walton.
Guided by the philosophy that good people doing strange things makes a great story, I was steered to Steve Agler's quest for 1,000,000 pennies. Mr. Agler, who lives in Rossford, has been collecting, counting, sorting, wrapping, and lugging pennies to the bank for 28 years now on behalf of the United Methodist Church of Rossford, and the church has marked a milestone. A recent Sunday service included a presentation by fellow church member Larry Perkins, who handed Mr. Agler the 1,000,000th penny. No doubt much applause ensued. Mr. Agler, who is known in Rossford as the Penny Man, began collecting pennies in 1989 as a way for the church to donate to Heifer International, a charity which provides farm animals to families in third world countries. Who knew when we spoke here about Heifer International a while back that a local church was on the verge of making history? The effort became a tribute to the late Diane Benson, the wife of the church's minister at the time, Reverend John Benson. After she lost her battle with leukemia, Mr. Agler embraced her memory as inspiration, and he's been hauling pennies to the bank ever since. Whenever he reaches $1,000 in pennies, he writes a check to Heifer International, and somewhere 2 cows find a new home. If all this sounds vaguely familiar, my fellow Blade retiree, Judy Terriani, wrote about the church's penny campaign many years ago. Mr. Agler can't recall the year, but he says he was at about 275,000 pennies at the time. I could do the math, but my head would hurt. Speaking of math, I wondered just how much 1,000,000 pennies would weigh if Mr. Agler had kept them in the church basement all these years. Old pennies minted before 1982 weighed about 3.1 grams each. They were 95% copper and 5% zinc. Today's pennies are basically copper-plated zinc, 97.6% zinc and 2.4% copper. Even if all 1,000,000 pennies were the newer, lighter kind, we're talking some serious heavy lifting here. 1,000,000 of them at 2.5 grams apiece would weigh 2,500 kilograms, or about 5,511 pounds. The calculator tells me that's 2.5 tons. You probably don't own an 18-wheeler, and neither do I. I sold mine because the neighbors complained. But Mr. Agler would have needed one to get his pennies to the bank. I can't imagine Fifth Third Bank, which is handling the account, would have been thrilled to see one of those 53-foot-long bad boys pull up at the drive-thru. As you might expect, people who have been throwing pennies in glass jars for years have been happy to get rid of them by turning them over to Mr. Agler and United Methodist. One guy brought in a cardboard box full of them recently. Sometimes it's a shoebox, sometimes a piggy bank. So what happens now that the 1,000,000 penny threshold has been crossed? If it were me, I'd never want to see a penny again. For Mr. Agler, the beat continues. He'll keep on collecting them, partly because the need never ends, and partly because he probably wouldn't know what to do with himself if he stopped. The Penny Man is 65 years old now, but he can still hoist a bag of pennies over the counter at the bank.
Life as We Know It is written and hosted by Tom Walton and is a production of WGTE Public Media. Life as We Know It with Tom Walton can be heard on WGTE FM 91 every Monday afternoon during All Things Considered at 5:44 p.m. Or hear past episodes at wgte.org/life.